What's up everybody? So today I'm going to give you a behind the scenes tour of what it's like to be a worship drummer. I wish it was as easy as just showing up, plugging and chugging, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes here at Faith Church. So if this sounds like something that would be of interest to you, kick back, relax, and let's go. Our first service is at 10 a.m., so we like to get to church a couple hours before to set up our gear and make sure everything is running smoothly. Let there be light. Alright, so right now we're in the sound booth, which is at the back of the church. I'm going to set up the drums real quick and then we'll come back to everything that we use back here.
So we had a drum cage here, pretty big, coming out all the way probably till over here. So we had a baptism here that was in the back of the stage, had a little window here. So we decided to kind of break it down, create walls in the back, 2 doors that go across, and wanted to put the drum cage right in the back to create the better sound, and then soundproofing, closing it in. Looks great, sounds great, so yeah.
Alright, so let's go backstage real quick and I can show you what it looks like from that point of view. There is the entrance to the drum booth. So that's where the baptismal used to be. It used to be steps that led up to the tank, and instead we built this wall and it goes up pretty high, and that is where we have our drum booth. So I'm gonna put you guys down for a second. I'm gonna set up and then we can talk. Alright, so welcome backstage to the drum booth. Now, as we mentioned earlier, this booth was built where the old baptismal was. So where I'm sitting right now is the bottom of the tank. This is where the baptismal tank used to be. So this room itself is about 8 feet tall, and it's covered from top to bottom with this soundproofing. All the walls are covered with this stuff. So some of the other churches that I play drums at, there's usually a drum shield or some type of soundproofing. But I usually have to worry about if it's tall enough. Sometimes you have to crouch in underneath to play, and then also playing softly because you don't want to play too loud and overpower everything else. In here, I have my own room. I have my own space to set up whatever I need to set up. Plenty of clearance. It's about 8 to 9 feet tall, and I can beat the crap out of these drums because this soundproofing does a great job. As far as non-drum gear, I have my lights, I have my camera and action, and I have a fan back here because even though the room is air conditioned or heated, while you're playing, if you play anything like me, it gets a little heated up in this piece. So the fan does a really good job of keeping you cool. I have some backup cymbals, some backup sticks, and then I have a mic back here that I can control with a foot switch that helps me talk to the rest of the band. For my drummers, my fellow skin slappers, the shells that we use come from a Pearl Master Studio drum set. Nothing too fancy, but had it in the back of the church, gets the job done. Let's start off with our 22-inch bass drum, 12-inch suspended rack tom, 14-inch suspended floor tom, and I like to put a 16-inch floor tom on my left side. For the snare drum, Ludwig Supraphonic 14 by 6.5. Looks beautiful, sounds even better, has a nice deep tone to it. Remo Emperor black suede skins all the way around. These are a single ply head that really hold up well to a beating. It takes a long time to, try to dent one of them, and it gives us a nice, deep, warm, throaty sound. I'm sure my drummers will understand what I'm saying. And Evans head here, they didn't have Remo at the time I went to the store, so Evans, also a fantastic brand. For the microphones, we have Audix D2 mics all the way around. Once again, nothing too fancy, but gets the job done. Heartbeat cymbals all the way around, starting off with a 20-inch Studio Crash, 22-inch Epic Ride, 18-inch Custom Crash, and a set of Studio 15-inch hats all the way around. Heartbeat cymbals, can't talk about them enough. These are fantastic cymbals. They're warm and washy. They resonate really, really well, and they don't die out. You know, they have a good, nice, long decay. Once again, drummers probably know what I'm talking about. If you don't understand what I'm saying, find your nearest drummer for a translation. Hardware, we use a DW5000 double bass pedal. As you all know, you can't have worship music without a double bass pedal. PDP hi-hat stand, and then there's my foot switch for the microphone that I use. So as far as the sticks that I use, when I first started off playing the drums as a 7-year-old, the first pair of sticks that I bought were Pro Marks, but in my experience, they just broke really easily. They splintered really easily, and I was going through sticks pretty quickly. So I switched over to Vic Firths, and I've never looked back. So I first started off with 5As, but now for a while I've been using the 5Bs, specifically the Extreme 5B ends. So the 5Bs are a thicker stick, so they can really hold up to a beating. The N stands for nylon. It gives me it's a nylon tip, so it gives me better definition with the cymbals. And then the Extreme series, these sticks are slightly longer than your normal 5B ends, so it gives me a little bit of a longer reach. Now, one little nuance to my drumming is something that I learned from my favorite drummer, Mike Portnoy, and it's to play with my left stick, I play with the butt end. So it gives me a lot of power when I'm beating into the snare drum or into the toms, and it's just something that I've gotten used to over playing for a while. The best part about it is, once you beat up, the sticks and they're broken or you can't really use them anymore, you flip them over and you got brand new sticks pretty much. So in my experience, one pair of sticks lasts twice as long. So we run an in-ear monitor system here at the church, and I think most churches are switching over to an in-ear monitor system from the old school wedges, the big old monitors that we used to have on the floors. But the ears that I use are the A4s from 64 Audio. These are custom molded to my ears, and they have 4 drivers. One for the sub, one for the highs, the mids, and the lows. And it does a great job as far as sound quality. Nothing too exceptional, but it gives you that good low end, the bass end that you want to feel as a drummer. These are custom molded to my ears, which is my favorite aspect of the ears, because once you put them in, I don't have to mess with them. I just leave them in, and they don't come out if I open my mouth like some ears do with your jaw. It stays in your ear, which is fantastic. But they are expensive. So the ears that I used to use before were the Shure SE215s, which I highly recommend. One, they are cheaper than custom molds, about $600 cheaper, and they are durable, they sound great. Anything in the Shure SE line is fantastic. They have SE215s, and I think they have a 3-driver, a 5-driver, but the 1 drivers are fantastic. These are my backup ears, and they're great cheaper option, and they do the job. As far as our system that we use, so the keyboardist, the electric guitar player, and the bass player, they run their ears through a P16 module, and then the singers and the drummer, we use a pack. So me personally, I do not like the P16 system because you're limited to 16 channels, but with the pack, you can control your ears with the X32 app, which you can use on your phone or your iPad. I usually have it set up on my iPad. You can access all 32 channels, and you have more freedom to customize your ears to your liking. So for my YouTube channel, I have a 3-camera setup. The one you're seeing me through right now is a Sony a6400 with a Sigma 16mm 1.4 aperture lens. Now the Duo is fantastic. As you can tell from the video quality, it's just freaking mwah! I love the footage that comes out of this camera. In front of me, I'll set up a GoPro 8, and then on top, I'll have a GoPro 5 for like a top-down view. So it gives me a good 3-angle video. For audio, that's been quite a journey. When I first started my YouTube channel, if you go back and watch my YouTube videos, I used to record with a GoPro 3, so the quality in itself was not that great because the lighting was always variable. And then as far as audio, I would run a splitter from my ears into the GoPro. So this was fine at the time, but it was a really raw audio file because you would have the click and the MD as well. So after that, in order to get better audio, I graduated up to recording from the soundboard at the front of the house. So I would plug in my USB and record whatever was coming out of the mains. Better audio, but the problem was you wouldn't have the feel of the room, and the sound was just basically whatever the sound engineer or whoever was doing sound at the time was doing. So it was also pretty variable. The drums sometimes would be too soft or sometimes too loud, just depending on what the Sunday was like. Then I know I'm a little late to the party, but now I've started to record into Logic, into tracking all 32 tracks into Logic, and then mixing everything in post. So for future videos, I'm looking forward to not just crispy video, but crispy audio as well. To help us plan and organize each service, we use an app called Planning Center Online, or PCO. And instead of me rambling on about it, let me open it up for you and show you what it's like. So on the homepage, you can see what date and what instrument I've been scheduled to play. I can also add a blockout date for that one Sunday that I'm going to be in Disneyland over the summer, so the leader knows not to schedule me on that day. If I need to email the leaders, I can do that there. I can also open up order of service to see the full set list and what key we're going to do each song. We can add lyrics, we can add chord charts for the singers and for the musicians. We can also add an MP3 so we can listen to what the song sounds like. Cool part about PCO is you can actually alter the MP3 into the key that you're going to play it in, so we can sing and practice at home in the key that we're actually going to do the song in. When you click Teams, you're able to see who you're serving with and what instruments they'll be playing. You can go to times and see the times of rehearsal and services, and overall, pretty simple app to use. It's really easy to set up, it's really easy to send out requests, and it keeps everybody on the same page. My brother is usually the one that organizes the app, and he adds everything in such a way where you can't show up to rehearsal or service and ask, like, what key are we doing the song in, or what's the set list, you know? We set it up in such a way where there's no confusion. Everybody is on the same page, we know what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it. So in a single worship set, there are so many variables that can occur, and in order to mitigate these variables, we have our MD. So the MD, or musical director, is a member of the band who speaks into a microphone that only the people on stage can hear. And this role, I feel like, comes with a lot of responsibility. They should be able to call out chords, transitions, any cues, any confusion on stage. The MD has to address and bring everybody together back onto the same page. So I personally prefer that the MD be somebody who has experience with instruments and with singing and has an idea of what the general sound should be. Since I've had experience playing the drums, keys, guitar, bass, and singing in worship settings, I have an idea of what each person should be doing. So whenever I play the bass guitar or acoustic guitar, I'll MD because I know what I expect from each musician, from each vocalist, and I know what we expect as a band for us to sound like. Now, for whatever reason, if the guitarist or bass player can't MD, our keyboardist will MD. Whenever my brother plays the keys, he likes to MD as well. Now, he doesn't like to sing at the same time, but sometimes he has to. So he uses a foot switch that helps him use a single mic as an MD mic and a singing mic. So the foot switch, whenever it's red, means that his voice is live and it's going to come through the house. Whenever it's not red or whenever it's turned off, it switches back to being an MD mic. This can be a little tricky at times because now he has two pedals that he's responsible for, the sustain pedal for the keys and then the switch for his microphone, but he does a good job. Now, our least favorable scenario is when we don't have that switch. So that usually happens to our worship leader, Kristen. So as you can tell, we have two microphones set up here for Kristen. This is what we did last Sunday. He'll sing on this microphone, and then whenever he needs to make cues, he'll lean over and talk into this microphone. Now, if this is ever our setup, we'll usually have somebody else, maybe a guitarist, MD as well, in case Kristen is singing or in case the keyboardist is singing and he can't make a cue. There's a second MD who can also make a cue. But this is our least favorable situation, and this is why.
Okay, so it was on a Sunday morning. This is my MD mic. This is my vocal mic. Everyone was hyped. It was the first song. Everyone was super excited. Everyone was praising. People were dancing, worshiping. And I wanted to have a really big ending at that moment. So instead of turning to my amazing MD mic that I usually would turn to, I stayed on the vocal mic that I was leading a song on. And I said, big ending. Just straight up, big ending. Everyone crashed out, and everyone in the audience, for some reason, it happened to work, and everyone just clapped along with me, enjoyed it. The only people who realized was my pastor, of course, in the front seat, who was cracking up for the rest of the service. Literally, the rest of the service kept on laughing, turning to everyone. Was like, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that guy?" I was like, but yeah, that was a misfortunate learning event.
How did the crowd respond?
Oh, yeah, they loved it. They didn't even, everyone was just like, oh, yeah, big ending. But Yeah, it worked out, but it was super embarrassing. My face definitely gave it away. I was like,
P16. This is my rig.
Okay, so what do I say to start? Hey, so here I have my keys rig. I'm just using a Nord Stage 3 as a glorified MIDI board. I have it connected to my MacBook Pro, and on my MacBook Pro, I am running Mainstage. Specifically, I'm using a template from Sunday Sounds, so shout out to them. The reason why I prefer to use Mainstage over the onboard sounds on the Nord is I just found the Mainstage easier to use. I found the sounds are solid, they sound great live, and it's already pre-configured to the way it needs to sound in a live setting. So yeah, I've just found it easier just to use Mainstage rather than having to dial in on the onboard sounds and everything like that. The Nord running to Mainstage on my laptop, and then from there I have it running to my Focusrite, and then from the Focusrite to the board. Yeah, and right here I'm using a Korg, what is it again? Korg, yeah, it is Korg. Korg Nano Control 2. Again, shout out to Sunday Sounds, I'm using their skin. But yeah, I'm just using that because it's easier just to, in a live setting, to mess with the sounds on Mainstage instead of having to mess with my laptop. I can just change sounds and filter or switch between patches more quicker and more efficiently on my Nano Control 2. And here I am using an iPad to run OnSong basically for chords and lyrics. And here I'm using the Playback app by Multitracks to run Multitracks. And in here my in-ears are going into a P16, and I can control everything I'm hearing in here. And for in-ears I'm using the Blonde BL03, very solid in-ears. I believe they're dynamic single drivers, but they're really solid. They do the job, and I would recommend them. I got them on Amazon for like 40 or 50 bucks. But yeah, that's pretty much my rig.
All right, Chris, can you run through what you do every Sunday?
yeah, so before everyone comes, I like to just set everything up because, you know, my worship team is lazy. But I put all their batteries into the packs, set it up for them, get all the mics ready. That way, as soon as they come, they can just set up their instruments, they can set up whatever they need to, and we can just go from there. And then I make my way to the sound booth, get everything ready. This Sunday we have 4 songs, so I'm gonna put them all in. That way it's all ready for our media team.
So for our live stream, we run OBS Worship Extreme, and we're actually just going through Facebook at the moment. But check it out, we use this thing called a Stream Deck. A lot of people, if you game, you know about it. We just hit this button right here. It'll launch everything for us from OBS Worship Extreme to our Facebook page, so we're ready to go. But let me talk about OBS. We use OBS because it's a completely free service. It takes a little bit of adjusting to have what you like on there, but for the most part, it's super easy. And we use the Stream Deck to kind of run through it all, so we're not over here pressing buttons. So say if we're before the service starts, we'll hit before stream, we'll get a welcome with some music playing in the background. So we have our pre-roll, which we show before our service actually starts. And then we have our worship button here, which will transition. For this setup is just for worship. We have it EQ'd for just with all the instruments and everything. And then we have, when people come up to pray, we have all the presets set and ready to roll. And we love OBS, it's super easy. And if you need it in-depth, you have questions about it, just message us. We'll be more than happy to answer those questions. So as far as videoing, we only have 1 camera going at the moment, but we're excited because we are actually upgrading to 4 cameras, including the drum cam. And we're just excited because we're gonna be running off OBS still, but we purchased an ATEM Mini Pro, which comes with multi-view, so we'll be able to see all angles at all times. We'll be able to switch to which angle we think is best for worship and for preaching, and we're really excited about it. And we'll be all running it here at this main computer. As far as audio is, we run on the M32. We run an XLR to our audio interface which then connects to our computer, which reads through OBS, and we run a bus just for our live stream. So that way, if something sounds off, something's a little too loud, we have our in-house mixer that somebody can come and they can adjust what needs to be adjusted. And even that, we're upgrading. We'll be soon going through Logic as our DAW, and we'll be able to add like echoes and more effects, drum sounds, and even better. So we're super excited for our live stream. We're super excited because we're gonna get better. We're always trying to figure out ways to sound better at affordable prices. So if you have any questions, you let us know, and we'll definitely be there to help you. Any resources that we have, we love to share with you guys.
The board we use is a Midas X32. This soundboard is popular because it's digital, capable of so much, yet simple to use, and we can control it with an iPad. Before rehearsal, we make sure all the levels are EQ'd, and I'll set up my Mac to record the tracks onto Logic. So once everything is set up and everybody arrives, we'll have a practice for about 30 to 45 minutes. After that, all the volunteers will get together in a room, and we'll have a quick devotional, and we'll all pray together. After the volunteer huddle, we have about 15 to 20 minutes where we can go to the restroom, grab food, or make any last minute changes to the set that we need to make or practice. I like to have the band meet backstage about 10 minutes before service so we can pray. And I want to take time in this video to stress the importance of that small 10-minute segment of prayer. I wish it were longer. I wish we can go a little longer, but I want to say that we can set up everything just right. I can have the drums tuned just right, lighting just right. We can be dressed well. I mean, you see how much work goes into one Sunday just to have a good service. But in all honesty, we can set all that up. But if God doesn't show up, it doesn't matter. It's all for naught. And I think that's the importance of that 10-minute segment of prayer, just to focus our hearts, if not already, on God, and to get our hearts right before we step out on stage, because it's a big responsibility we have as worship leaders to lead people into the presence of God. So we pray that God shows up. We pray that the Holy Spirit move in our lives and in the lives of people. Alrighty, so that is a wrap. That is our behind the scenes tour and pretty much the process that we go through for every service that we have here at Faith Church. If there's anything that you saw that you want to incorporate into your house of worship or learn more about, send me a DM on Instagram and we'll definitely hook you up with all our resources and all the information that we have. If there's anything that you saw that we could do better or more efficiently, let me know as well, because we're always trying to be better at what we do. Thank you so much for watching. Pass the video along to somebody who you think will find it entertaining or useful or informational, and we'll catch you in the next one.